Hey, and welcome to today. We're going to go through process modeling, and this is all about creating a visualization of how information flows through a business. So HubSpot is a great tool of breaking down workflows, putting them into workflows based on specific action, triggers, and how the information and then occurs after that point of time. And they other have great visualizations, the stages in sales pipelines and ticket pipelines, so you can track exactly where people are at certain stages. But when you need an overall visualization to really understand your business and control your business, then process modeling is a perfect place to start. And we always recommend all clients start at this place. Why? Because the outcome of process modeling gives you a result that all team members can understand. All team members can read the visualization, they can follow the stages, they can comment it, and they can feedback, and we can look at improving it from a visual point of view. VAs and other people generally do a good job, but they create a lot of documentation. This documentation is very hard for different departments to read. It's very hard to visualize how certain actions are occurring at certain time. So having this process modeling activity is a great way to get started with HubSpot, and it's our approach to making sure that our understanding is the same as our client's understanding. So we use a tool based around BPMN. This is an open standard. It's used by a lot of large companies, banks, NASA, and so on. So it's a great tool. It's absolutely free. You can download from Camunda, and it's a great way to start the visual activity of creating your flow and how you want your information to flow through. As a CEO or a business owner or managing teams, you know, I've found that working with this tool really gives people the control. It's like a board strategy. It's a map. It's a way where you get to control how your business operates, how your marketing operates with your sales, how your sales operates with your onboarding, how your onboarding operates with your operations. It's a great way of creating this whole strategic plan in, as I mentioned, a visual way, a manageable way with clear elements to indicate flow. So let's go through a very quick example of a diagram which is used for discussion. So here we can see the top of funnel. At top of funnel, we can see we're going through, okay, we have our Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, our SEO. This is the information flow coming to our system. And we're pushing all this information into our opt-in page. Our opt-in page is the one there we're going to trade an email for some type of content. It's a trade-off. So you're giving away something of value for exchange for an email. And in this case, we're going into a decision, a parallel process. So what we're going to do is send them the free content and we're going to wait for 24 hours. If nothing has happened, if we don't have a booking in 24 hours, we're going to move them on to lead nurturing. We're going to get them more into the educational phase about our product, what we're selling, what are the transformation for each of these stages of the journey. So this is going to be the start of the process model if they haven't created a meeting. So here on the other path, we have our thank you page. We put in our remarketing pixel, boom. We can keep on promoting to them. We can keep on sending them information. Now they have the option to fill in the survey. Survey page we use as our pre-qualifying, asking them critical questions, size of business, what are your problems, what are your challenges, what are you hoping to achieve from your product or solution. So this moves on from your survey page, and then if they qualify, into your booking page. So this may be Calendly or HubSpot booking, but they're going to create a booking that you can track. This would move on to the next case of either an automated or a human task of doing pre-sales, diving into the company, doing the background, working out the industry, see how your product fits into it before you are ready to take the meeting. So then the meeting happens, and then you can have a series of extra stages, like what happens when they don't show to the meeting, what happens if they show but there's no real outcome from the meeting. You know, what happens if they show enthusiasm. Now it's time to book a further in-depth meeting to show them a demo of the product. So this is just a simple way of visualizing. And as you can see from this diagram, it's very easy to see how everything is working. And it's very easy to discuss. It's very easy to change the order. It's very easy to see the first stage is a parallel. Two things are happening at the same time, or there's a decision that needs to be made. So this is a great way of working. And as I said, every client we work with so far have really found a lot of power in this and really being able to make core decisions. And quite often we end up with two very similar diagrams. The current situation, how everything works today, and the future situation, where they want to be in the future. So creating your process model from end to end of your company, this is something that we work with clients to really understand how their business is really working internally. Um, you can visualize your model and work through scenarios and understand. So exception. So this is a very common situation in the process modeling. What happens when something breaks down? What happens when something falls out of the normal scope? How do you handle that? This is a very important situation. You want to avoid too much time. You want it to be efficient. You want to tell people when to drop a customer, when to keep a customer. All these rules and exceptions is a great way to model and put into place. Checks and balances, another great tool. What happens if an activity doesn't happen? So when do you need to get other people involved? When do you need to escalate to a manager? When do you need to create the right checks and balances? So if you have someone doing an activity and you need to make sure that their work is correct and following the right procedures, how are you going to validate to make sure that that works great? And escalations, something that working with clients happens a lot. People lose tasks, people forget about things, people get sick. What is your process of escalation? So let's say an activity, it's time sensitive, something doesn't get done. Okay, visualizing what happens at certain stages. So a salesperson, they forget to do their pre-sales or something because they're away or they're sick. Okay, then this needs to be escalated to the manager. So the manager can either reassign it or handle that pre-sales process themselves or simply remind the salesperson. So having these processes and elements in place give you a lot of power about how your organization should run. The next thing is aligning your model with your sales model. So a lot of companies have this idea of what they want their sales to be. So a typical sales model would be looking at the awareness stage, the education stage, the onboarding stage or the pre-meeting onboarding, and then the retention stage. So there's a few models out there, and it's great to have these in practice. It's great to have your sales playbook, but we need to make sure that our model of our flow of our business does align to your sales model. So when we work with customers, we either take a sales model that you have in place, or we can look at using things like the SaaS sales model, which looks at different elements and different stages and when to qualify people and the time elements between them to work out how efficient and effective your process is going. And this leads into knowing your KPIs and cascading your KPIs. So knowing your overall levels, your cost of acquisitions, your lifetime values, and how they affect in different areas of your process diagram and how you can refine and optimize each of these KPIs throughout the whole process. So when we look at this, we look at it in the elements. In terms of starting your process model, we'll normally look at first is the awareness. So this is where the customer starts their journey, the touch points, the entry points. What are your opt-in pages, landing pages, your contact pages? So anything that's leading from awareness into your system, anything where you're going to get that unqualified lead where they're starting their journey. So the next stage is the education. So aligning the process model to the next phase. The information you want to communicate to a client when they start their process and ready to move forwards. So in our sales, we'll talk about transformations and the journey and how they're going to achieve their results. Now, if you've got them excited, now it's to provide that education about how it's going to be achieved. It's the how it's going to be done. So looking at how the model can achieve that education from lead nurturing, from demo meetings, from exploratory meetings, kickoff workshops, whatever those elements might be to get things started. Next phase is normally the onboarding. So as we balance it out, how you get clients onto your system and what are the stages to involve to run it from day to day. So we need this synergy. We need to make sure the information they started with, the thing that got them excited, the thing that we educated them on, the communications we had flowed through to the onboarding. That this onboarding is an efficient process, that is customized, that it's only for that client, and that information goes through. The next is obviously the money, depending on the type of business you're in, but how you're going to collect the money, how you're going to maintain the collection, how you're going to operate. So collections, depending on type of business, can be a very simple process or a very complex process. And that's about how you're going to handle that in an efficient and an efficient kind of way. And obviously the operation. So what internal operations you need to handle to ensure the maintenance and success of the customers. So we want to make sure that we have strong retention. We're going to keep the customers for as long as possible. And what does that look like and what needs to be done either from a regulatory or back-end office point of view to get the success that you need. So breaking your models into these phases, you're going to see a holistic company-wide view of what's going to happen and how information flows through your company. So as I mentioned, we want to model the now situation, see what gains we have, see the structures. So HubSpot will offer great automation tools. Workflows will be a lot of the backbone and how you're going to operate. So looking at the now, we're going to see what exists. We're going to model the future, and then we're going to break that diagram down into practical implementations. Look at how workflows are going to be used into your future needs and where you can save time and where you can be efficient. Another thing that we do to improve the automation is look at orchestration. So where we need to bridge the gap between using HubSpot and other tools to get the right solution, whether that's integration into third parties or whether that's orchestration, where we need to create communications between one system and another system. And the models we can identify what the systems are and where we need to bridge those gaps in the future situation. And RPA, something that is a great tool when we get stuck. So when we create these models, there are points where humans are doing activities. They're copying numbers from one system to another system because the systems don't have APIs, they don't integrate, or for whatever reason. So when we look at taking a process model and looking at the complete automation, then RPA is the last resort. But it still takes away a lot of human effort and a lot of potential for errors. So it's a great solution when it's needed to be fitted in. So the next stage, which we mentioned, is having your past and future situation, going through these phases, modeling it, It's assuring that all our workflows, all our metrics do align with your sales model. Here we have the SaaS sales model: awareness, education, selection, onboarding, impact, and growth. So it's important that we do have these alignments, because this is the measurements, the key metrics that you're going to want to measure in your ultimate sales goal. It's where you can see the impact of each stage, because each stage is not independent. They are codependent. They compound the effect with each other. The conversion rates, the length of time, the conversion rates, all these things add up. The cost. So getting great results sometimes is not always about getting more customers. Sometimes it's about improving the growth of your customers, or sometimes it's about having more efficient onboarding. It's all those elements need to come together to sell the story. So your process diagram needs to be aligned with what you're going to sell and your sales model. And that's all I have for this presentation. If you're interested in more information, please contact us, and we'll be happy to arrange a session to go through your current situation and start modeling out what you have today and how we're going to get to results